to be alive in this land of ours. Good to drive in this land of ours.
Hello, Canada hockey fans in the United States.
The Hockey Time Machine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hockey Time Machine. I'm Glenn Dreyfus. That's my home office behind me, Climate Pledge Arena, where I cover the NHL Seattle Kraken as well as the new pro women's expansion team. We're going to split this show, 30 minutes devoted to PWHL Seattle, conversations with their GM, their coach, and 3 players, including Hillary Knight, who's in the conversation for Best U.S. Women's Player of All Time. First, though, a half hour with Kraken TV voice John Forslund, who goes all the way back to the Hartford Whalers and works nationally these days on a Monday night streaming package for Amazon Prime Canada. We are privileged to be joined by the TV voice of the Seattle Kraken, John Forslund. John, thanks so much for taking the time.
My pleasure, Glenn. Great to see you, hear you, and see you in person very soon.
We should mention 2025 Northwest Region Emmy Award-winning John Forslund.
Yeah, we finally paid him off. It worked.
No, I don't think so, because Kraken Hockey Network won in the category of Best Live Sports Event.
Yeah.
And what's remarkable, and John, this is what I want you to speak to, is even though you had a lot of holdovers, both behind and in front of the camera from Root Sports, this was KHN's first year in existence.
Yeah, and a lot of people, a tremendous amount of people did a lot of diligent, hard work to get it off the ground, to visualize what it could be, launch it, figure out operationally how it was going to happen, from the ownership group of the Kraken, top level management, Todd Lewicki, Victor DeBonis, Rob Lampman, with Sam Holloway overseeing everything. And then it gets to Chris Brumwell and Ryan Shaber, who's our director of broadcasting. Ryan and Patrick Brown, who's our director, came over to us along with others from Root Sports. But Ryan especially had to lay out a footprint of how to get it done, where to emanate the studio from, how to pull off crewing it, and this was something that we needed to do as an organization to get ahead of where the business and the industry is going, but it didn't have to happen right away. But the Kraken took the initiative and had the foresight and vision to do it. And then you have to do it. Then you have to hit the ground running, and based on the support of all the great professionals around us, the on-air talent, everybody that was put in place, we just did our thing. And the fans were able to consume it at record levels. We were able to reach new fans, bigger and better than ever, expand our market, make sure they were hitting all the right hot points around the Great Pacific Northwest. So we were able to do that, and it was a home run. I'm very proud of it.
For those of us who haven't won one, is the Emmy statuette like the Stanley Cup? I mean, you can't eat cereal out of it, but do you take it to bed with you or take it back to your hometown so people can touch it?
No, I'm extremely humbled by it. It's packed away somewhere. And we're not alone. I mean, the pregame show with Root Sports had won. We were nominated in the past as far as the live broadcast. Our production has won Emmys. I've won Emmys in the past in Carolina, luckily enough. And, those things are just, it's an endorsement of what you believe you can do. And you're very humbled by it, like I said. But no, the Stanley Cup's that's a different animal. Yeah.
Here's why I know that you didn't have to bribe anybody to win this award, because I think we have pinpointed the exact 72 seconds that sealed your Emmy win. So let's take a look.
Okay.
Do you believe in that, Johnny?
The carrots?
Like that carrots are good for your eyes?
Never had one in my life.
I mean, I know we don't see eye to eye, so I mean, I understand that's the reason. You need to eat some more carrots.
I just keep renewing this prescription every fall out in front, and then they say a prayer, comes out the center.
I got no room to talk. I got like 5 pairs of glasses up there. I need one for 400 feet, 200 feet, 100 feet, 1 foot, and like 8 inches there. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah. Especially those final inches. Now to the slot. Carlson's shot taken care of by Oleksiak, and it goes out of play.
How can you not like carrots?
I just don't. All right, because here's how it works.
So
you take the food, you put it in your mouth. If you don't like how it tastes, you don't eat it. Simple.
Have you ever had carrots with like butter and cinnamon?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
My wife makes unbelievable carrots.
Well, I bet she does.
Brown sugar. I'm sorry, brown sugar,
Okay.
not cinnamon. My bad. -1. Brown sugar, some butter.
Evans now to the corner. This has been a landmark achievement in broadcasting tonight. Through center.
We're going to win the award for the Hemi.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
And you did.
Yes.
Magic.
That was it. That's all we had to do. Now we have to do it again. But yes. Oh, that's the brilliance of the one and only Eddie Olczyk. Yeah.
Now, I think the downside is you did ruin any chances you had of being named Man of the Year by the American Carrot Council.
Yeah, any vegetable doesn't work for me. It never has. You're right. I'm off their list, never been on the list, will never get on the list. My apologies to all the carrot lovers, vegetable lovers out there. I'm sorry.
You mentioned Eddie and John. Chemistry, is such an elusive quality. And if you try to manufacture it, the audience will know and not like it. So have you thought about, maybe you shouldn't think about it, maybe that would ruin it, but have you thought about why the organic chemistry among you and Edzo and JT Brown works so well?
Yeah, well, let's go to JT first, because he was the rookie at one time, and he continues to ascend and get better and better and put the work in. But by and large, when I took the job and I met him in person for the first time at the expansion draft in the summer of 21, I said to him, there's an obvious generational gap here between the two of us. I do hope that we become friends. In our business, it's not always the case. There can be people, and have been, that work together on shows, men and women, that don't get along away from their profession, but on the air, it's beautiful, right? And they continue to do it, and somehow they do have chemistry. But to me, it has to be an organic, authentic way to get to that friendship, which we've been able to do. And then we've been able to forge in his own way. Because I also told JT, listen, you're you and I'm me, and we have to be ourselves to register with the fans. So what you see is what you get. If you were to sit with us as you have in the practice rink and watch the Kraken practice, I don't think we're much different there than we are in front of the camera. And the same thing with Eddie. Eddie and I come from the same generation, although he's younger than I am, and he always reminds me of that. But he and I were nurtured. He is a great player, me as a young announcer in the 80s, and then through the 90s. And then once his career ended, around the year 2000, I think it was, the first time he and I worked together for ESPN. And from that very first game, whatever the reason, we hit it off. So it's like a personal relationship. You hit it off right away. Sometimes you have to navigate through some things and forge it, but many times it happens right away. And with it has. And he's a dear friend of mine, and I love working with him. Looking forward to another season. Looking forward to our national games with TNT. And, I'm just very lucky to have partners like this because, throughout my career, I've had some great ones.
You mentioned being at the practice rink and other places away from the cameras. And this is my sadness. And I think the sadness of a lot of people is we only get to hear you during the games. And it put me in mind of Jerry Seinfeld, who created this online video sensation, comedians in cars getting coffee, little off the stage slices of life. So when will we see Kraken commentators in cars getting coffee? It's gold, John, gold.
Well, I've been telling them, because I shuttle Edzo back and forth to his humble abode there over in Bellevue. He doesn't live too far away. I'm on the island, doesn't live too far away from me, but we do commute back and forth. And so a tiny pencil POV camera in our car, my car, for these post-game rides would be gold. Nobody's done anything with it yet, but it would be gold because it is another rendition. You'll remember this, and a lot of our fans won't, but I'll date ourselves here. The Odd Couple. We're a little bit like Randall and Klugman here. We're kind of like that.
Can two broadcasters live in the same booth without driving each other crazy?
Yeah, exactly. Cue the music. Exactly. It'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Why Hollywood hasn't snapped up this idea? The fools.
Probably a good reason. Yeah.
You took a big leap into the streaming world last year as play-by-play voice of the weekly package of games on Amazon Prime Canada.
Yeah.
Was being on a streaming platform any different for you rather than traditional TV? And if so, how?
No, actually, in many ways, it was even better because the amount of resources, the commitment Amazon has to Prime Monday Night Hockey, they dumped a lot of resource into the broadcasts, cameras, all the bells and whistles in the production truck, people across the board. Mark Askin, the in-game producer, the best and has been the best in the business, did Hockey Night in Canada for a long time, over 2 decades. They kind of convinced him to come out of retirement to do this gig. And I've known him for 3 decades and we've been friends, but I've never actually worked with Mark. So personally, that was great for me. But again, the people that make up the broadcast, the direction of it, it's the same thing. The only difference is, we were going to, find our way into Canada, and would we be accepted by the ardent Canadian fans? The people who are I'm not going to say stuck in their ways, but used to the way it has been for a long period of time. And I think there's a learning curve there, but by and large, those ardent fans did come around and did watch our games. And, when you do stream, you're not relying on some ratings formula. The numbers, you get the clicks, exactly how many people are locked in and how long they're watching the game. So we have a great idea of what our ratings are, and they were outstanding. So we're looking forward to enhancing it this year and moving forward with it again on all the Monday nights throughout Canada. And as an American play-by-play announcer, I went into the season with some anxiety just because I've been around long enough to know what that's all about. And I wanted to make sure, even though some people were familiar with my work, many people in that country were not, would I be accepted, because I'm not Canadian. I believe I'm a hockey person, and I believe, Americans and Canadians and globally, people that love hockey share the same thread. So I think we've come far enough along that it works. And I can't wait to get started. We're going to start on October 13th in Toronto once again. The Red Wings and the Maple Leafs. It's Canadian Thanksgiving. It's a doubleheader for Amazon. We have the early game at 4 Eastern time, so that'll be fun.
This is how good John Forslund is. He actually answers my questions before I ask them. See, yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but it said, I thought it was especially impressive that Amazon and Rogers tabbed you for a package exclusively in Canada because you're not Canadian. And in my own inimitable tongue-in-cheek way, I was going to ask you, did you work in any boots or organizations?
Oh, I stayed clear, and I made sure that I knew enough about, some of the smaller towns and, all these outposts where the players come from. Yeah, you got to be careful because you never know more than those people that live there and have lived the game and have. But I think, Mark always tells me, Mark Askin, that I am an honorary Canadian. I have the work papers to prove it now. I'm okay that way. But I've been consuming Canadian broadcasts since I was a little boy because growing up in New England, I was exposed to Danny Gallivan at a very young age and Dick Irvin and, of course, Bob Cole, who became a very much an influence in terms of how I think games should be called. So anyway, the funny story, before we greeted the press, the NHL press conference before the season started last year, and this package was rolled out, the commissioner was there. And before we went up on stage, Gary Bettman said to me, are you ready for this? And I said, I hope so, but I didn't get what he meant.
Yeah.
I said, I've been at this a long time, Gary. You know this. He goes, no, I'm not talking about that. You're an American. They're going to come after you as they've done me for years. And we had a chuckle about it anyway and went up there. But the media was very good to us all year, and hopefully they will be again.
I'm sure. This is great, and I appreciate that. Also on a network level, last season, you called some playoff games from a studio instead of on site.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you how you like that, just like I wouldn't ask how you would like having your fingers slammed in a car door. But I will ask you, because I'm interested, I'm curious how you prepare to call a game remotely and what challenges that posed.
Well, there's a lot of challenges, but there's also challenges for the rights holders who logistically are trying to pull this off the easiest way they can. And, there was a push in and around the pandemic, as you know, for a lot of the right reasons, to do games like this. But the problem is when you do games like this and they come off well, somebody somewhere is going to say, hey, maybe we should do this more often and be a little bit more frugal with our expenditures. This case last year for I can just speak for TNT. The season ended midweek in April, and the league goes through a lot of hoops to schedule in and around the NBA playoffs. At the time, TNT and ESPN are both balancing that out. And then where the games are going to be on night one, which was a Saturday. And instead of being in Toronto, it changed at the last minute to Winnipeg. So now TNT's got to figure out what's the best way to do this. They figured that St. Louis Winnipeg game remotely would be the best way to get it done. Now, I think we did the best we could. We do it. It's not ideal, but the bottom line is it's available for the fans, and they want to see the games. And I think they probably get whether we're there or not. But if it's close, okay. But to do it as on a steady diet would be, in my opinion, and I don't count the beans nor generate the revenue directly, but I would say that is not the way ever to do any kind of professional sport. You need to be there because you need to be in a better spot access-wise and professionally than the people at home. And sometimes, believe it or not, Glenn, the monitors they give us in a studio are not as great as what people have at home with 4K televisions and, 80-inch screens, and people are sitting at home and they're getting frustrated because they're like, well, we can see it. We can see it go off his stick and off the crossbar and come down and ahead of the goal line. How come you can't? Well, because we're not seeing it as well. We're in a studio, we're cramped in. We do have multiple monitors, but back in the day with NBC during the pandemic in Stamford, because of the pandemic, we were like in ice fishing shanties, closed off, wooden boxes with little computer monitors. And that's how we were doing the game. And there was a little window to look at your partner, whoever it was, if it was Pierre Maguire or AJ Malesko or Eddie or Bush, whoever it was, you couldn't even see them. And that's how we did the games then. So bottom line is the fans could enjoy them, I hope. Not the most ideal, but yeah, that's how that goes.
I have a buddy who's a radio broadcaster for the Texas Rangers, and he told me once about doing a remote broadcast, and there's a line drive hit, and the left fielder goes to dive, and the screen freezes.
Yep.
And, and he's seeing the ball, and he's seeing the outfielder with his glove, and he's thinking to myself, what do I do now?
Well, the biggest thing for hockey, exactly, unless we're Ronald Reagan and we're recreating the broadcast with sound effects, we're not going there, I hope. But the hardest part about hockey is the delayed penalties. You have two referees. Two of them are not in the frame all the time. So sometimes you think there's a penalty in the corner, and you got the official, maybe he's in the far corner, his hands are down, but the up top person has the arm up, and you don't see the goalie leave. You don't see the arm go up. You don't have any idea until the new player comes into the frame. Oh, delayed penalty. And that's frustrating as a broadcaster. That really is. There's a lot of things that are not ideal, but that's the biggest one.
To be fair, not all actual broadcast locations are all that great.
No.
I'm in mind of one outdoor game you called on radio where you were not at a hockey rink, but you were so far away and so low to the ice. It might have been in Nashville for an outdoor game, because I was listening to your broadcast.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't know. I can't really see.
Yeah, no, I've done outdoor games both upstairs and along the boards. So at T-Mobile Park, we were along the boards for NHL radio, and that was great. At the Centennial game in Toronto in 2017, I believe it was, Detroit, Toronto, Austin Matthews rookie season. He wins the game in overtime for the Leafs. Anyway, I was along the boards for that. It was great. Screened in the to my left in the corner, but I could go to the monitor just fine. But you're speaking about Nashville, Tennessee, in the football stadium, Tampa Bay and Nashville, and we were in a football press box. Many of those boxes are renovated suites, and they're low, and we were down inside what would be the 20-yard line. So had no idea, what was happening at the far end. And and you just can't say, well, it's radio. The TV booth wasn't that great either. They were just Kenny and company and Eddie. They were just two doors down. And they didn't have the best view. It's too linear, too low. But I believe they were up. Yeah, they were a team in Seattle. Those guys were upstairs in the baseball press box. To me, that's too far away. And I believe Kenny did most of the game off the monitor. Doc used to do the same thing. Yeah.
Do you do games ever off the monitor? Because I know some other play-by-play guys do.
No, I don't. I just, started this way and have never changed. There's times you have to look at the monitor. There are times you're screened along the near boards, obstructed a little bit. Not ideal. Delta Center still a work in progress in Salt Lake. That's not the most ideal. But for instance, in our barn, there's not other than Montreal, there's nothing else better in my opinion. So no, as you know, I'm hanging over the table and just calling the game, because you have to to me, you have to anticipate the play to be right on because it's so fast. So you almost have to watch so much of this stuff over the years and do so many games that it becomes second nature. That's not always predictable because these kids today are unbelievably creative more than ever, and the speed's faster than ever. But I can almost predict, where the puck's going to go, and based on osmosis over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like people need to go to a game before they watch games on TV, because a
Mhm.
lot of times you can't see the puck, but if you've watched enough hockey, you know where it is.
Right. You definitely have to do that. If you're a new fan, watching this or relatively new to hockey, get in the building and go to the building if you can with somebody who knows the game. They'll help you along. It's not that hard. But then what we end up doing is fostering the fan base and fostering the fellowship between the team and the fans for an entire season. We're telling their story from training camp to the end, and hopefully it's in a playoff year. That's what we're doing. But you need that. You need that because you can't get to every game, and certainly the road games. But definitely by going to games, you see so much more. And hockey in person is so much better live, as opposed to, I would argue that I rather watch a football game in the comfort of my house than go to the stadium these days. It's nice to go to the stadium before the game for the camaraderie of tailgating and all that. And then when the game starts, it's okay. But when you're there, and and they're all televised now, you got to sit through all those timeouts. It's not a lot of fun to me.
Speaking of challenging broadcasts, I'm going to put a picture up on the screen. Tell me if you know who or what this is.
Well, that's the Canadians mascot, and maybe it's a Sherbrooke Canadians mascot.
Yes,
And
that
if
is
it's
Tricolo.
yeah, and if that's the Sherbrooke Canadians mascot in I want to say it was 1990. I think it was 1990. First round playoff series. That is, and I've told the story. The mascot that I was obstructed by. That mascot decided to come up during a playoff game, during the play, and during a commercial break, come up and start waving at me and gesturing at me. And that was all well and good, but then decided to sit on my table in front of me, and I couldn't see the game once it started. Then I asked the mascot to move, and the mascot would not move, and it created a ruckus in the crowd. The old Palais des Sports, Sherbrooke Sports Palace, and about a 3,500 seat arena. And security, the ushers were not doing anything about this. So I had no alternative but to use some physical force on the mascot and level the mascot. And that was a year where a lot of things happened. I believe it was the same season that Mike Milbury was coaching the Maine Mariners at the time, and they had a player and he might be known in the Pacific Northwest, Steve Tajura. I believe he played junior hockey with Portland. Outstanding American League player. Was just his he would have played today in the NHL. It was his generation that, as a tweener, he couldn't cut it, as a little bit smaller, whatever the case was. But anyway, Asian descent, and the organist would play an Asian song on the organ, kind of derogatory, racist thing to do. And Mike Milbury left the bench and went up the stairs and accosted the organist in the same season in Sherbrooke. So a lot of stuff happening back in those days, and it was reported. And anyway, that started my relationship with mascots on the wrong foot.
Okay, kids. So the lesson is: don't tug on Superman's cape.
No.
Don't spit in the wind. Don't pull the mask off the Lone Ranger, and don't get between John Forslund and the ice.
Yeah, don't, because I'm pretty much, pretty excited. We won the Calder Cup that year, won the Calder Cup the next year. So it's back to back, two different affiliates. That was the Islander affiliate, I believe. Yeah, it was. And that was round 1 against the Sherbrooke Canadians.
So I did a little digging. The guy
Yep.
inside this dime store Youpie knockoff was a guy named Claude Bernier. And when Claude Bernier put on this costume, I'm being kind to say that he was a jerk.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, 3 different AHL team filed complaints with the league office against Tricolo, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you had a lot of people cheering you on.
Yeah, it was much. It was a lot. It was a lot. And again, they had that unfortunate incident with the organist, which is very serious. And these things today would be extremely viral and would be reported on, and we're in a better place because that type of shenanigans is not allowed. But it was unprofessional. I guess that's the best way to describe it. And Jack Butterfield was the president of the American Hockey League at the time, and he was good. He was good about it. But yeah, they were cited a few times that season. Yeah.
So last point on this guy. So one of the players was so irritated by Tricolo that he actually whacked him with his stick. And one of the AHL executives said, I don't know whether to suspend him or name him player of the week.
Yeah, right. And because that was the reaction, it's like a little kid, you get more of it, right? So he was, to my knowledge, he was never disciplined for anything like this. Listen, if anybody knows me, I'm a pretty gentle guy. I'm not, I enjoy mascots. I'm still old school, so I'm not, not completely in love with these things, but I get why we have them and all of that. But at that time, I thought, I asked him once, I asked him twice. 3 strikes, you're out. And I was pretty excited to be doing that playoff game. So that's what happened.
Bear with me on this next setup, John, because it's happier.
Okay.
A longtime colleague of yours, Chuck Caton, called Hartford Whalers and later Carolina Hurricanes games on the radio. You did some with him. You also worked on the TV side at the same time. I'm going to play a real short clip of Chuck from a podcast I host, Hockey Time Machine. And what I want our audience to do is hone in on the cadence of Chuck Caton's voice. Hi, Chuck.
How you doing, Glenn? Yeah, that was a great memory. I could still picture the play at the Met Center in Bloomington, and it was incredible. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy either. Adam Burt was just a terrific individual, great character guy.
Okay, so that's what Chuck Caton sounds like. And this is what John Forslund sounds like when he's doing an impression of Chuck Caton on an imagined visit to Studio 54, a legendary New York City nightclub.
It's 1977, and our buddy Chuck Caton is at Studio 54. The Village people just left the stage, and he looks beyond and sees a gorgeous blonde, and he's going to go over and talk to her, and Andy Warhol gets in the way. What would that sound like?
Well, let me tell you, I used to go there all the time, back in the ooh-la-la days. Of course, with many of the Rangers. I'm not going to say they were there that night, because as you know, they were playing the next night, and they would never do anything like that back in the day. But, I have charisma, and when I go out, people kind of gravitate towards me, and I thought I saw Barry Becker. Couldn't it be him? I thought I saw Robbie Duquet. It couldn't be him. Was Espo there? No. Who's in the... That's not Dave Maloney, is it? No. Dave's getting himself mentally prepared. Sailors are at the Garden the next night. Anyway, I'm here. Hello there, sugar. Whalers, and then Andy Warhol is nearby. It's not a pretty scene, and good thing it's too late for any of us to remember that evening, what happened the next day, but as they say, those were the days, and go Canes!
Oh, John, that's great stuff.
The NHL Network guys could barely stay in their chairs, John.
Well, I worked a long time with Chuck, very dear friend. We've kind of, unfortunately, over time here, we've kind of been separated by the fact we don't work together anymore. I don't see him much, and we don't stay in close enough contact for me. But anyway, he was a remarkable, and is a remarkable person, but a remarkable broadcaster from day one with the Whalers. But he's another one of those what you see is what you get guys too. His persona was very much what you get in real life with that guy. One of a kind, there's no question, but a lot of fun there, a lot of fun. And I don't think that story that I made up on the fly at Studio 54 with the captain at the time, a very young Dave Maloney. I don't think it's too far off. I wasn't there, but I don't think it's too far off.
The Ooh La La days.
Ooh La La, that's right.
I remember Sasson jeans.
That's right. Yeah.
So at dinner parties or for family and friends, what other impressions do you do besides Chuck Hayden?
Not too many of them. I dabble around. When I was a young boy, I did them all the time. I did a Richard Nixon for my friends, and I did a lot of things. I think I did a Marv Albert when I was younger. I could do that when I was in college. I used to do it for the boys there in college, but I would do various voices and a little bit of a prankster. And I could actually, one of the best impersonations I ever did, Glenn, was as a freshman at Springfield College. I had a physics professor by the name of Peter Polito, who at one time was brilliant enough to work for NASA and had his name on the textbook and everything else. Brilliant physicist. And I could impersonate him. And what we had was a freshman register to get to know everybody of everybody's 4-digit extension in their dorm rooms. That's how long ago this was. No cell phones. Well, what I did was I impersonated him on a Friday night. We were sitting around enjoying ourselves. I called virtually everybody in the lecture hall. Probably there's 200 kids in the lecture. I might have called 100, half the class, as this Dr. Polito. And I told them that, we're moving along with the semester 3-4 weeks in. And before things get out of hand, I want to, maybe meet with you for some office hours. So at the next lecture, come up to the front of the room and we'll set up a time and I can get you kind of ready to go for the midterm. And, some kids were like, yeah, whatever. Some kids were brown-nosing right away. Oh, Dr. Polito, I can't believe you called me on a Friday night. You should have heard some of this stuff. And everybody, I had the phone, no speakerphone, but I had the phone out. All my buddies were laughing. Anyway, we get to the next lecture, and we're sitting in the back, and we're waiting, and he closes out the lecture, and it dismisses the class, and about 100 kids go up to the front to meet him. He's like, what's this all about? What's this all about? And they're like, well, you called us Friday night. Anyway, yeah. So then the following lecture, he gave, one of you obviously is impersonating me, blah, blah, blah. And I struggled with the class. So I had to go to office hours. I finally told him. And he said, well, sit down and do it in front of me. And so I did it right in front of him. And he goes, John, that's fantastic. And anyway, he helped a very poor mathematical mind get through physics 1, 2, 3 in college. I had to take 3 levels of physics, and I wasn't ready for that, but he got me through it.
Oh, that was great. Yeah. Great story. As John Forslund doing Chuck Hayden would say, those were the days.
Yeah, those were the days, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Now, is there any chance you would favor us with even a yes or an off the face?
Oh, I haven't done that in a long time.
Marv Albert.
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, and it counts. I don't know. Something along those lines. But yes, it was. Yeah, that was one that I did do. I haven't done that in 40 years. I guess it would be. Yeah, 40 years.
To start off with, congratulations, Hillary. I counted. This is your 1 millionth video. You've done an interview going through a car wash. You were asked if cutting spaghetti with a knife and fork was a penalty. I don't think I get that one. Assessing the quality of your handwriting, a smelling salts challenge, taped your stick while blindfolded. So to start off, is there anything you haven't been asked or haven't been asked to do yet?
I'm sure there's plenty, but as you can tell, I've really been through the ringer on all sorts of different challenges in the best way. So the blindfolding the stick, or blindfolded while taping a stick, was pretty difficult, but I think I aced that one.
Okay, hard-hitting journalism now. Bane coming with you to Seattle.
Yeah, Bane is my bulldog. So Bane is coming with me to Seattle. So I'm super excited about that. He's traveled everywhere with me. So he's my bestie and a big part of my journey. Both, try to get him on the ice. He doesn't love being on the ice as much as I do, but he'll be here. He's far more than a dog. He's been my companion in traveling to different cities and calling different places home. But him and I have sort of, been together for 7 years. And yeah, we've been all over the US and in Canada, and it's been quite a journey. So I'm really, really happy that when, we get out of these high pressure situations, I get to go home and, just melts and just have a blast with my dog. And
how did you end up at New York's Fashion Week?
That's a great question. I would consider, no, I'm just kidding. It was for charity, and it was just a unique opportunity, and I'm hoping to find myself at Fashion Week again in the near future. But to be able to walk the runway and have fun doing that was great. And my brothers live in New York City, so they were able to come. And at the time, my teammate Alex Rigsby, at the time, now Cavallini, was there training. So it was fun to be able to hop on the ice with her super early in the morning at the Prudential Center, and then in the afternoon, evening, walk a runway and have those people in the stands. So
how much training did you go through for that?
Very minimal. And I don't know if you could tell in my walking, it's an art, and you have a greater appreciation when everyone's looking at you. The runway's a little slippery. You're wearing a high heel. It gets a little dicey. And so you definitely appreciate the people that do that for a living, and the talent that they have.
So a perk of winning an Olympic gold medal in 2018 that you probably didn't think about beforehand was a cameo on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Honestly, ran into Leslie Jones just being fans in the stands, and I kind of fangirl. I was like, "You're my favorite," and I think she's just hype about the Olympics and the Olympic spirit, and I think her coverage is iconic. And when that invitation came through, I was like, absolutely. And funny enough, we were in DC doing like a post-Olympic media tour, and the trains were down for whatever reason, and that was the way I was getting into the city. And so I called my agent. I was like, there's no way I'm missing this. Like, I have to get there. So I booked an Uber, and they pulled up, and I was like, hey, do you mind driving me to New York City? I know it's kind of far, but that's where I have to go. And the guy's like, if you don't mind me stopping for gas and filling up, no problem. And so the nice gentleman drove me all the way into the city, and I was able to make SNL. And I think you saw like how excited I was, like just ear to ear, beaming smile. It's just, that's one of the shows you grow up on, and it's just so cool to be a part of that and experience that, and to see sort of behind the scenes and how everything works. So I guess what's next on the table is to try and host. So I'll be working towards that goal.
Can you still repeat your signature line?
No, I don't even know what I said. I sort of just blacked out.
Hillary, tell Colin what I told you to tell him. Colin, you's a bitch.
But but they still have the handwritten cue cards and everything. So I was able to keep one of them and get it signed by the cast, and it's hanging at my parents'.
You helped create what is the PWHL, which is mind blowing. And I'd like you to speak about it, not just about for the women who play, but for all the people, women and men, girls and boys, that have a chance to watch you play.
Yeah, I think I think we're a little biased, right? We knew we're really good at this thing called hockey, and we wanted other people to experience this community that we were introduced at such a young age to, and the sport that we love. And we're missing programming, we're missing funding, we're missing healthcare. There's all sorts of things that go into one successful athlete, and so we're missing everything. We couldn't even put one person on the ice without the structure that the PWHL has afforded us now. And so it was really important.
In previous leagues, you had to have second jobs.
Definitely. And and also the PWHL, like this, we're starting, right? We're going into year 3. Like this is a starting point for us, which is really exciting to feel and see the way that we're supported as is, and where this sport can grow. And I'm really excited. Just women's professional hockey, what a great starting point. And so where the sport will lead is, the sky is truly the limit.
When you were asked about gender equity in sports 7 years ago, you said, we're getting there.
Yeah.
In 2025, have we gotten there? And if not, what still needs to improve?
Well, the answer is no.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. No, I think everything needs to improve, right? I think if you ask any athlete, they'd say the same thing. It's just women's sports are so far behind in terms of a plan of investment and time and energy that's gone into making all what we see now is all the male sports at the professional level and all their successes. Like we have not had centuries of support, right? And so there's so many things that go into the mix of a successful team, and look at that across the board for any women's sports team or franchise or club. So we're definitely making waves and movements in the right direction, but yeah, we're still very far behind, especially when you consider pay equity.
Megan Turner is general manager of PWHL Seattle. Megan, thank you so much for making time for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Glenn.
Megan, I have come to learn that we can't really know your amazing journey without mentioning your close friend, roommate, and college teammate at Quinnipiac, Danielle Marmer. Did you know that you were Danielle's dad's favorite player? Not Danielle. You were Danielle's dad's favorite player when you were both growing up.
I think he's just saying that, but yes, I love Gary. Gary Marmer is a great guy. He and Danielle are very similar and both just great personalities. So yes, Gary has mentioned that to me a few times, but I'm not sure I believe him. I think deep down, Danielle was always his favorite player.
So as the general manager of the Boston Fleet, Danielle offered you, and spoiler alert, you accepted, the assistant GM position. And if I understand right, you got her letter offering you the job shortly before you left for Army National Guard training. So if you would, tell us the story about that offer helped you get through the rigors of basic training.
I was like, well, I'm leaving in a week for 3 months with no access to the outside world. And yeah, I had 3 months to process. I won't say at all times, because I was being welcomed very gently.
Oh, sure.
Into the Army. But I had 3 months to process what a major career transition it would be. She wrote me a letter during basic training, just keeping me posted about who she signed, how the draft went, and that definitely raised my spirits a lot while I was there. I was looking at a lot of pictures of family and my dog and everything, and that letter was included in some of those mail pieces that kind of got me through.
We previously mentioned your time at Price Waterhouse Coopers, and you played in 2 previous pro women's leagues, something you also mentioned, the CWHL and the PWHPA. The rotten part of that was you needed to keep your other job, consulting, because that was the one that paid the bills. How did you ever pull off that professional doubleheader?
What's the saying in college? They're like, you can choose 2 of 3: sleep, a social life, and homework or something. I think it was the same. I chose, I probably sacrificed sleep the most, which is not super healthy, but it did the job. I wanted to continue playing. I had a lot of friends in the team, and I took a year off after college from playing, and I was like, just something was really missing, and the leagues were available, and I was like, why shouldn't I play, right? I'm still young. So yeah, it was a grind, certainly, but I wouldn't have done anything differently.
Well, how great is it though that your players now that you're overseeing won't have to do that if they don't want to?
It's that's the best part of all of it, right? Like, think about how peaking was, your senior year in college, maybe in the NCAA. And now players are probably not going to peak until their mid-20s, which just wasn't beyond the national teams. There wasn't an opportunity for players to continue to grow and get better and develop through, their 20s and early 30s. And you can just see the longevity of some of the players already, and just the how good players are getting in their mid-20s, years after they've already graduated from college, where in the old days they might have had to go get a job and do something totally different. So I think that's the whole reason we're here, is to create that opportunity. And I think it's really cool that it's already materializing.
Emily Brown is a defender with PWHL Seattle. My favorite statistic about you in college, during a road win at Ohio State in one game, you blocked 11 shots. Does that make you brave, a glutton for punishment, or both?
Probably a little bit of both there, but definitely something I've always tried to do in my career is keep pucks out of the net. That's what I take a lot of pride in, and so by any means necessary. And as it's always said in the hockey world, a bruise goes away, but a goal doesn't. So try and throw the body in front of as many pucks as I can.
That is a wonderful saying. It's not true, but it's a wonderful saying.
Right.
Equally impressive, you were an all-conference scholar athlete, got a degree in mechanical engineering. What is that, by the way?
This is such a fun question that people ask more often than you would think, and it is so tough for me to answer because I'm like, what even is an engineer? But really, mechanical engineering to me, at least, is the design and innovation of many different things. I mean, mechanical engineering is such a broad degree, which is why I pursued it. You can work on anything from cars to windows to medical devices and anything in between. So a lot you can do with it, and I'm sure there will be a day when I decide what I want to do with it there.
So by playing pro hockey, Emily, you are depriving the world for at least a few years of a brilliant engineer.
Yeah, just for a few years at least, but I like to think that there's still some stuff that I'm able to contribute using hockey, and I know that day will come when I'm in a lab or in an office somewhere using that part of my brain as well.
So you're smart enough to be a scholar athlete, but not smart enough to get out of the way of hockey pucks.
Hey, depends on your definition of smart. Some people would say that's a pretty smart call there.
Back in January when you played in the takeover tour game for Boston against Montreal at Climate Pledge Arena and took a penalty. Seattle Storm WNBA legend Sue Bird put you on her Instagram story. We're looking at that screen grab now. When did you know that post had gone viral?
Yeah, that's a funny story. So I was, obviously we had played the game, and it was an exciting one in front of a really great crowd, and obviously went into a shootout against Montreal. So it was just an overall great game. And I remember being in the hotel after the game, in the athletic training room, just getting some things done, and maintenance and whatnot. And I remember scrolling through. I knew that Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe were obviously there, and scrolling through Sue Bird's story, and all of a sudden I'm kind of tapping through because there was a few stories on there, and I tap through and I look and I'm like, oh my god, like that's me. And Hillary Knight was in the training room with me as well. And I just go, oh my god, you guys, like, look, like Sue Bird like called me a bad girl. And it was obviously just took off from there. And obviously, whatever. But yeah, it was a crazy realization, and probably definitely something that sticks out to me from the past year for sure.
And my favorite part of this story is how you leaned into it with your Fleet teammates. What is the story behind the t-shirts?
Right. So another good one. So that was obviously, it had been going around our group chat, and everyone, kind of took off with the nicknames and whatnot. And then we had another takeover tour game, and it came out that Hillary Knight was, our captain, and obviously a great leader, a great teammate, and, just iconic as she is, was like, hey, I'm having these t-shirts made with the screenshot of you in the penalty box, and saying bad girl. And we're all going to wear them into that game. And that's really the origin story of how those t-shirts got made. And it's got to give credit to Hillary Knight there for that idea.
No matter how many decades PWHL Seattle is around as a franchise, only one player will ever be able to boast she was the team's first ever draft choice. Jenna Buglioni, thanks for making time to speak with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat.
You started off the year playing an outdoor game at Wrigley Field, the home of the Chicago Cubs. How did that happen?
It was just a really awesome experience. It was the first female outdoor game played at Wrigley. And we were actually in the Cubs locker room. So being in that environment, they treated us like real pros. It was an amazing experience. Being in Chicago, there's lots of people there. Not as many Buckeye fans as there were Badger fans, because it drives a little bit closer. But it was still a really awesome environment, and that game was so back and forth. It was probably one of the better showings of the year that I think fans could watch, other than obviously national championship games and things like that.
Well, you weren't kidding. The game went to a shootout, and then this happened.
Buglioni now. And she gets it past McNaughton. Ohio State wins at Wrigley Field over number 1.
I just remember we're going into it, and Coach Muzzy just looks at me and she says, just go finish it. So that move was kind of my signature. And I was like, okay, well, the shooting kind of hasn't worked. Teely just saved it. I'm the last shot. Let's try to put it in. But if it doesn't go in, we got another round, which I guess took a little bit of the pressure off me. When I first started skating in, all I could hear was boos. All the fans there were not cheering for me, which I kind of liked. It was a bit exciting. But when I first shot it, I looked back. I couldn't see. I didn't know it went in originally. So I was kind of looking back, and then I saw the ref point that it was a goal. And then the fireworks went off. All the lights went out. It was a cool moment for us for sure. But yeah, I kind of knew that was the move I was going to do going into it. It was, if she gave me the 5-hole, that's where I was going to go. If she didn't, I was hoping to pull it a little bit farther and try to stuff it high. But the 5-hole was there, and I was lucky enough to just kind of put it in.
We mentioned your off the charts scoring totals, but you didn't always wait at Ohio State until the puck was dropped to entertain the fans. Let's take a look.
For the ramparts we walk,
Wow. How long have you been singing?
Honestly, I come from a musical family. My brother's a musician, my mom plays the piano, my sister sings, and my dad plays the guitar. So I was in choir growing up, but I haven't like done any vocal classes. I haven't done anything like that. That was honestly the most nervous I've probably ever been in my life, more than any game I've ever played. I just remember my hands were shaking like before I was in the locker room. I got all my gear on. I was in the washroom, like just kind of practicing. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, like we've never seen Jenna this nervous. This is crazy.
Let's shout out your partner who did the sign language.
Yeah, McKenna Webster. She's one of my closest friends. She has been taking sign language at Ohio State. I think she has a minor in it. So she actually goes and does the deaf hockey camp. Every summer she goes, she's going to be helping coach one of the deaf hockey teams. So that's like a really cool thing that she does. And we had kind of joked about it earlier in the year. I think we were in Mankato on the road, and I've always underlying like thought, I'm like, oh, like one goal I have is to sing the anthem at one of our games. Like I think that'd be really cool, but I never followed through it. We're talking about it at breakfast one day. And I was kind of just joking. I'm like, yeah, like I want to do it. And our hockey ops and he's also our goalie coach is like, why don't we do it senior night? Like I'm sending an email right now. Shot off an email and I was like, oh, okay. Like just thought he was kind of joking. And then couple months later rolls around. It's like a week and a half out from senior day. I get an email being like, hey, it's our like marketing person. Can you send me a video of you singing whatever? And then I'm like, oh no, like I can't do it. Like whatever. I call Muzzy and I'm freaking out. I'm like, Muzzy, like I can't do it. Like what if I screw it up? Like obviously the anthem is a very like serious thing. I'm Canadian. I didn't want to screw it up and people
Well,
like,
and not an easy song to sing with the vocal range. I've read that it's really tough.
yeah, I had to figure out kind of what range to start in because if you start too high, by the end it's like out of my range, but if I start low, it like feels uncomfortably low. So it's like a really weird line. But I called her and I was freaking out. I'm like, I can't do it. Like, what if I mess it up? Like, I don't want people to think I'm not taking it seriously because obviously I was very serious and I wouldn't put myself in that position if I couldn't have done it well. But she told me, she's like, no, like you're doing it, you got it, like I believe that it will be great, like let's get the mic out after practice so that you can hear yourself like on what it will sound like. So I spent the next like 3 days after practice, I would sing it like probably 5 to 10 times. The first couple times Mac would be there signing with me, and then after I would just sing it myself. I was like out there for probably 20 minutes just practicing it every day. And then I told my parents, but like none of the other parents or fans knew that it was happening. So when they announced it, I remember skating over and I see some of the parents are like, what's going on? And then after the game, some of the like parents said to me, I remember Sloan Matthews' dad came up to me and he was like, I had tears in my eyes. Like it was like a really cool moment for senior weekend to kind of cap it off and kick it off like that with the two of us doing that. So, but I will say it's the most nervous I've ever been.
Please tell me that at some point we'll get a repeat performance at Climate Pledge Arena.
I mean, that would be crazy. That might be a few more fans than I'm used to for sure. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I would definitely need to do a lot more practice to calm the nerves because I was like, oh, I'll be good. And then I went out and I was like, so that would be cool.
Steve, thank you for taking the time to do this. I very much appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us on here. Exciting to do these interviews today.
I don't believe you, but thanks anyway. You have Washington State in your hockey playing resume with the WHL's Tri-City Americans, and you played one season alongside your brother Dan. What are your memories of being siblings on the same team?
Well, I don't know if I can tell all those stories, but as a Western League back in that day, there was quite a few fights and stuff. And my first ever fight in the Western Hockey League, I was fortunate I won. And my brother came up and he put his arm around me and he says, "I always knew you could take a punch, never knew you could throw a punch." So that was always interesting. And the next day in the paper, it comes out, big brother proud of little brother. So that wasn't real great for me, but at least I didn't lose the fight. So that's a good part.
Well, the year you played together, I mean, you're not lying. Dan racked up 196 penalty minutes. You could not have predicted then that your brother would go on to be an NHL referee calling penalties instead of serving them.
Yeah, he has an interesting career for sure. He was in the East Coast fighting, and the next year he's a referee breaking up fights. It's not a usual path for people, but yeah, he's had quite a career going on, and he had a good hockey career, but he's had an amazing officiating career. And great thing just happened this week, him getting named to the Olympics as a referee. So pretty amazing. Probably coming to the end of his career here soon. So nice that he's going to be in the Olympics.
When you were kids and your parents would send you to timeout, would he be the one to escort you to your room?
No, I ran way faster than him. Way faster. That's what saved me most days, was my speed on ice and off ice.
Okay. You were drafted in 1992 by the Islanders, and I read, tell me if this is true, when you saw the sort of rundown facilities at the old Nassau Coliseum, you said, quote, "I want to go back to junior. We have a sauna and a hot tub."
Yeah, like Tri-Cities was pretty new back then, and the building was amazing. Yeah, you go into the Islanders and you think of this history that they had with their Stanley Cups, and it's going to be first class, and you're like, oh my, the junior facility is first class. This is, but again, you create players from all different backgrounds, right? Big towns, little towns, and yeah, I was really shocked to see the facilities when I got there. But winning doesn't matter. If you win, doesn't matter what the facilities look like.
After turning pro, you played 3 seasons in the English Premier Ice Hockey League. Do you have a go-to story about playing across the pond?
Well, I mean, it was just amazing. It's nice to go over there. You're in Europe, but it's still English speaking, so there's no real challenges to it other than driving on the other side of the road. But I got there, and our team was really just being formed. So we had 2 defensemen that were signed at the time. So myself, my partner, and we got these 2 locals. They were Canadians. We were told that they played hockey in Canada. And so we're out there for, I think it was about midway through the first period. And eventually what would be my D partner, he's out with one of these Canadians. So we're playing every second shift in this exhibition game. And the one guy skates right around this partner and he goes in and scores. And my partner, or the guy goes, "Why didn't you turn?" "I can't turn that way." So after that, it was myself and that partner. We played the whole game. We never came off the ice during that exhibition game. So that was kind of the introduction to British hockey. There wasn't going to be a lot of locals to help you out if you were injured.
When did the thought enter your head, I might like to stay in this game as a coach?
Early on. I have a mentor, a coach, Ennio Sacciolato, that he invited me back after my 20-year-old season. As I was going to university, he invited me back to the training camp, run drills, and then he let me coach an exhibition game. And we were up in a little town called Merritt. I think we were down 4-2 going into the third period, and we came back and won the game. And it's like, I'm hooked. This is what I want to do. You kind of get that rush of that, whatever it was, might have been the speech in between periods or whatever it was. We came back and we won that game. So just been hooked on it ever since, and kind of directed my path that way. As at university, I was looking to become a teacher so that you had that to fall back on. I ended up not finishing that. I got my kinesiology and then went on and did a master's degree instead, just to kind of always have some education to fall back on, because this is a little volatile, this profession, you might see.
Yes, the lifespan of hockey coaches is about roughly equivalent to that of a fruit fly. which
Yes.
is, I think, a mistake. And I bet you'd agree with me.
Yeah, I do. Like, there's so much literature out there too. Like, again, if you look at the strongest organizations keep continuity, right? And that's what keeps them strong.
That's our show. I'm Glenn Dreyfus. Thanks for joining us on Hockey Time Machine.